you can ask to me directly. But at that time, Hari Parshad is no longer there, he's traveling. So now we will go and ask Hari Parshad. Hari Parshad, I have a very urgent, very real question for me. The background is that I've always been very interested how we as conditioned souls can have an experience of Bhakti in this world. Now you introduced the concept of Atidesh from Jiva Goswami, the complete transfer of all the qualities here of the spiritual qualities of an entity to another. And you quoted this very nice verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that Bhakti is a function of the Swarup Shakti, the internal potency. Thus she is completely non-material. Yet one should know that she becomes non-different from the functions of the body, mind, etc. In this way, transcendental Bhakti descends to those receptive human senses. Now, is this Atidesh, this transferal of something entirely spiritual to us, is it the same as what Srila Prabhupada has often quoted, that if we keep our senses engaged in the spiritual nature, they will become spiritualized, much like the iron rod which is placed into fire becomes fire? Or is there a subtle difference between Atidesh and this phenomena?
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Atidesh refers to the complete transfer of all qualities from one entity to another entity, and the original entity maintains all the qualities. So, Sri Jiva Goswami in the Bhakti Sandarbha, in the Bhagavad Sandarbha, has specified Atidesh, and I would like to point it out very quickly, where he describes the 9 qualities of Vaikuntha, and in that he specifies Atidesh. So this is the 5th quality of amongst the 9 qualities of Vaikuntha, and he says Laukika Bhagwan Niketasyapi Tad Aveshan Nairgunyam Atidishyate. Here is the term Atidesh used by Sri Jiva Goswami. So that is where Sri Jiva Goswami used that term when he described the 9 characteristics of Vaikuntha. And then he says Laukika Bhagwan Niketa, a temple in the material world also becomes non-material by principle of Atidesh. So this is where he was saying that he was referring to Atidesh in the case of a temple and a deity receiving all the qualities of the original spiritual world. So this is what he was saying. And what Srila Prabhupada was saying was in regards to execution of sadhan bhakti. In execution of sadhan bhakti, when a devotee practices sadhan bhakti, Bhakti Devi herself may descend on the devotee's individual senses, but there is no, it is different from Atidesh, because Atidesh requires an original entity and a copy of that entity is made here. Here there is no original entity as such. Here Bhakti Devi directly is descending on the material senses of the devotee who is executing their bhakti. So Atidesh is basically a copy paste of the entire qualities of a spiritual entity in the material world, whereas Bhakti Devi descends. She descends on the material senses of the devotee. So in a sense they are slightly different, because in the case of Bhakti Devi descending, there is no copy of qualities being made. It's just that she is descending and becoming one with the senses of the devotee who is executing that particular limb of Bhakti. So,
which Anucheda is this in the Bhakti Samrava?
in which Anucheda? In Anuched 49 in my edition, and it starts with Atha Shri Vaikuntha Lokasyapi. This is the Anuched of Bhagavad Sandarbha. Thank you, Maharaj.
Actually, may I ask one? Reading. You were speaking of Sthayi Bhav this morning, and as far as I understood, this Sthayi Bhav is connected to Dasya, Sakya, and those 5 different rasas. Now, I was wondering, because, for example, we listen Ramayana, and then suddenly we have different roles, and we might identify with some of those roles, maybe with some not so much. How you see the difference between what is our original Sthayi Bhav, or what is maybe the Sthayi Bhav that is awakened while looking at the drama, or is that the same, or if you can clarify that?
Alright. So, although we are worshippers of Sri Krishna, sometimes we may hear something from Ramayana and it may trigger some emotions within us. So, how do we know whether what is our Sthayi Bhav and whether that is a Sthayi Bhav or not a Sthayi Bhav? That is the question. So, when a devotee takes up the path of Bhakti, especially in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, they first and foremost decide upon their Ishtadev. So that Ishtadev is first and foremost decided, that this particular Devata, Sri Radha Madan Mohan, Sri Radha Govinda, they are my Ishtadev. And the cultivation of Raganuga Sadhana is also done in such a way that one nourishes those moods which are favorable to their relationship with their Ishtadev. So, and then gradually, when the Gaudiya Vaishnava becomes more and more exclusive in their practice, then they only hear those specific pastimes, and this is specified by Sri Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where Sri Rupa Goswami says, Krishnam Smaran Janam Cha Asya. A devotee will remember Krishna and the associates of Krishna, which associate Preshtham Nija Samihitam, who is dear to one's own mood. And Tat Katha, only those specific Katha, Ratas Cha Aso. They will become engaged in that Katha because voluntarily they do not want to shift attention elsewhere. They have decided upon their Ishtadev. And therefore you will see in the prayers of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami in his Swaniyama, in his self-decided rules. Swaniyama. Nobody forced him. He decided by his own volition that I will not even hear about the Lord of Dwarka, all of these. The reason is because once your Ishtadev is decided, then you move in that direction. Otherwise, when we in general when we look at dramas and something arises within the heart and then goes down, usually it is called as bhav. We call it sanchari bhav, temporary fleeting bhav. But sthayi bhav, you will need to receive by the mercy of a guru, by the mercy of a particular Gaudiya Vaishnava, and by their mercy you will receive that particular sthayi bhav, and then your attention will become fixed towards that one deity. And then later you will not feel inclined naturally to look elsewhere. So that is the answer to that question.
And I have another one here. This is from an anonymous devotee.
Anonymous. Yeah. There was a loaded question last year in the anonymous.
I read it already. It looks good. Actually, His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj has a verse in which he described Krishna crying in the spiritual world for the souls who have turned away from him, and that Srila Prabhupada, wanting to please Krishna, says that he will go to material world to bring them home to him. As I understand, Krishna is busy in Vrindavan with his own affairs. Is he really thinking of us when he is there in Vrindavan and crying? Maybe the Acharyas say something about this.
Yeah, because Maharaj's name was mentioned, I think it is best to ask questions with no names mentioned. Because once names become attached to questions, it sort of becomes a loaded question. So I have deep respect for His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj. But I am also sure that this verse is not from the previous acharyas, maybe some new creation it might be. So whosoever has composed that verse may be knowing what mood has gone behind composition of that verse. And Maharaj may be respecting the mood of that verse for some, because it might be a good composition. I have not seen such a verse in the writings of the previous acharyas that, Krishna is telling Srila Prabhupada, or Srila Prabhupada is saying that I will go. At least in the writings of I have to be honest. So I have not seen such a verse. But in the Brihad Bhagavatamritam, when Gopakumar returns back to the spiritual world, Sri Krishna says that hope had me dancing like a fool, that in this life you will turn towards me. In this life you will turn towards me. And then Sri Krishna says to Gopakumar, finally I tried to do everything, but I could not break my own eternal laws. That is, I cannot interfere with the freedom of a living entity. But then I decided to anyways do something, and I made an exception in your case, and I appeared as your Guru Jayant. So Krishna himself appeared as his Guru Jayant. So that you can say that Krishna was thinking about Gopakumar. That is an example which you can take. Krishna is always thinking about us. But this specific thing that Srila Prabhupada, I think that I have not seen. Very respectfully I have to say, I have not seen that. Okay? But it may be a new composition, and we should respect all compositions, old or new. Puranam ityeva, na sadhu sarvam, na chapi kavyam, navam ityavadyam. Kalidas says in the beginning of Malavikagnimitram, just because a composition is old doesn't make it bona fide automatically. And just because a composition is new doesn't make it non-bona fide automatically. Santah parikshanyatarat bhajante, mudaha parapratyayane buddhi. Saintly souls test everything for Siddhanta before accepting it. And fools are always dependent on the opinions of others. So this is what Kalidas says in Malavikagnimitram. It's a very important litmus test. We should test every new composition according to the Siddhanta of the previous acharyas. The Siddhanta of the previous acharyas is perfect. So whatever fits in that Siddhanta is good and can be accepted. So I think that is what I would like to say. And I would request the devotees not to take names of institutions or individuals in the questions, so that makes the question loaded. Okay? Yeah, we have Manisha Mataji here. Let's give her a mic.
A few days ago, I was listening to one video. We were having Zoom with two more Matajis about Grihastha.
Yeah.
So I have a question about that topic.
All right.
It was very interesting and very, very. I learned a lot from this video, and I wanted to ask you about. In the Shastras, we have description of Grihastha and marriage in one Vedic way, which is not what is today's Grihastha, which we live here, for example, in Europe. Usually women work, they earn, maybe because they want, maybe because there is not enough salary to raise children, so she has to. So then we have this mixture of the roles and some different situations than what is described in Shastras. maybe because of that it is harder or it is easier to maintain marriage. As you said in this video, it's better to go through the pain of marriage, whatever obstacles are there. And you mentioned that loneliness is much worse solution than to be in a marriage which is, not so easy to be. Do you have some question? Do you have some advice for us? Because we mostly live in such a situations.
All right. So that was, I give a small background. There was a podcast, a recording where aspects of Grihastha ashram were discussed, and there it was specified how that traditionally the roles were separated and both roles were very respected. And today the role of a homemaker for a lady is not respected very much. If a lady says that she is a homemaker, people usually say you don't do anything else. So, and that is how the role has been, put down in the modern day. At the same time, traditionally, there were examples of ladies who would engage in some sort of business work. For example, the cowherd ladies, they usually go out and sell milk, or traditionally there are different sections of the society where the ladies also go out and do some work, and they also have some engagement with commerce. But at the same time, that work was not so heavy that the home would be neglected. That is what the traditional setup was. So if two people are coming together and they are forming a home, there should be someone who is dedicatedly taking care of the home. And Shastra says it is best if the home receives the touch of the lady, because the man's touch doesn't give elegance to the home. It is the lady's touch that gives elegance to the home. That is what Shastra traditionally says. Nowadays it may have become very difficult. The more difficult it is, the more challenging it will be to have that beauty of a home. Therefore it is always, if possible, if the husband and wife, at least devotee husband and wife, if they can reduce slightly their needs so that the lady doesn't have to work so much, and if she can, and if she is respected, I strongly believe that every lady, especially a devotee lady, and especially those who take care of homes, should be respected very much, and they should be given complete charge of the finances of the home, because they are the Vedas say that Samraghi Bhava, you are the queen of the home. That is what the Vedas say for the lady who takes care of the home. But modern world is not like that, and therefore, according to Varnashram considerations, I can only give suggestions, because I know it is difficult in some cases. If it is possible that the temperature can be reduced and the lady her workload in the world outside can be reduced, so that she can give quality time to the home, and that her role in the home is appreciated as equally as it is appreciated in the world outside, that would be the nearest ideal situation. In some cases it is not possible, so then the husband and wife have to find some alternative. Even in Vedic times, there would be cases when the husband is disabled, and the wife has to go out and do some extra work. But then the most important thing spoken was that there should be friendship between husband and wife. This understanding should be there. Some people can stay alone, there is no problem, but for most people in the world it is difficult to stay alone because some emotional support is needed. So from that point of view, Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur had suggested in the Jaiva Dharma that Grihastha ashram is the most recommended ashram in this age. So that is what was specified. But I understand that these are social issues, and everybody cannot fit in the same mold. So there will be some variegatedness, but a general suggestion I am giving, so that if it is possible easily for devotees to mold their life like this, then it will be favorable. It will be more closer to the varnashram idea and favorable for married life. So that is what I can suggest.
Thank you.
Yeah. Then
Hare Krishna. I have a question regarding the answer that you gave to Sacinandana Swami's question yesterday about Nam Seva. So you said something that I found very intriguing and something that I heard for the first time. You said that in our body of a sadhaka, when we are chanting Mahamantra, we are doing that to alleviate the pangs of separation that Lord Chaitanya feels. Could you maybe expand on that and tell us what's the source of that?
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had specified in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. This is, please repeat after me, dear devotees. Yadi ama prati sneha,
Yadi ama prati sneha,
Bhake sabakara,
Bhake sabakara,
Tabe Krishna vyatirikta,
Tabe Krishna vyatirikta,
Nagai be ara,
Nagai be ara.
So if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's statement, if you have affection for me, then don't sing of any topics besides Shri Krishna. And this is our primary reason for uttering Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He is the personality who brought Hare Krishna Mahamantra in our lives. And what is our primary reason for uttering it? Because we have affection for him. And that is why for whatever pleases him, we are going to do that. So that is the primary reason. In Jagannath Puri, he is in the mood of Sri Radha. He is experiencing separation from Shri Krishna, and Sri Radha loves to hear his name again and again. Therefore, meditating on that, when we chant our japa, at the end of our japa, we can offer all of that to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu, whatever remembrance of Shri Krishna took place, I offer it to you. Please let it help a little bit to alleviate your separation from Shri Krishna. Because we are in the sadhaka body. In this body, we do not have direct access to Sri Sri Radha Krishna's seva. In this body, we have direct access to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's seva. So that mood of separation which he has, if it can be slightly reduced by our utterance of Krishna Nam, then nothing as good as it. So that mood at the end of one's japa. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, there are also mantras for offering one's japa. At the end of one's japa, one offers to Bhagavan. So might as well offer it to Bhagavan Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can select the Bhagavan you want. So you can either offer it to Sri Krishna as the Hari Bhakti Vilas says, or you can offer it to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is closer to the Gaudiya Vaishnava mood. So that is a suggestion, a recommendation that was given. Yeah. We had Anuragini Mataji, then we'll go.
Hare Krishna. My question is related to Smaran. Simple Smaran, when we wake up in the morning, Krishna, Krishna, and then we are supposed to recite some verses. And Sanskrit is not my language. I have not studied Sanskrit. I have affection and appreciation and wow for Sanskrit. But still, when I, for instance, utter the verse Yasmarit Pundarikaksham, then I can kind of engage my mind, but not my heart. And then I have to remind myself separately, I have to think about the lotus feet of Bhagavan. Then my heart is purified. So is it equal if I, for instance, just utter the German-English translation, or is there even more benefit when I do both, or can you please elaborate on this?
As far as kirtan is concerned, kirtan should be done of the naam that is mentioned in the Shastra. So kirtan we perform of the naam that is mentioned. In performing that kirtan, there is no restriction of Sanskrit. In Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur, in the Bangla language, Vibhavari Shesha Aloka Pravesha निद्राचारी उठ जीवा, बोलो हरि हरि मुकुंद मुरारी, राम कृष्ण हयग्रीवा. You can select an easier language. Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan, Shri Govinda Gopinath, Madana Mohan. Very easy. So the original names should be there, because Acharyas don't recommend translating the names even into local languages. So it is better to have the original names and the meanings are attached to those names. Language of verse, you can select whichever language is most comfortable for you.
So for verses, I can
Bangla verse, Hindi, Bangla.
But not German.
If you can create a German, I don't know if there are meters in German poetry, huh?
No, it would just be the translation, what I have understood from the verse.
Sure. But maintain the original names of Krishna. Don't translate the names into German.
No, that's not possible.
Instead of saying Giridhari, O lifter of the Herion, so the original name should be mentioned.
Small.
Yeah. So it's okay, the devotee can express their feelings, but the original names of Bhagwan, which are mentioned in Shastra, should be there. There is no such restriction. Recommendation by the Acharyas is, because their meditations are like very good meditations. So what is given in the Bhagavatam, what is given by the previous Acharyas, those are the recommended ones. So if in the recommended meditation something comes easily to do, very nice. If nothing comes easily, then no other choice.
Okay, thank you.
You wanted to ask something? No.
Can I ask?
Yeah, sure. You get a free question for carrying the mic.
So my question is, in our search for the truth, how can we distinguish between healthy spiritual inquiry and a skeptical doubt? What helps us to stay core in faith while remaining intellectually honest and curious? And have you ever experienced your questions turning into spiritual restlessness or skepticism?
So what is the distinction between a healthy inquiry and a skeptical doubt?
Yeah.
This question is connected to a bigger part of the culture of speaking Bhagavatam Katha. When we put someone on the stage and we give them a garland and we put them on a pedestal and say that, we offer pranams to them, that, we have given you a seat. So that seat is given to someone and we sit in front of them when we have faith in them. That is, in the assembly of Naimisharanya, the sages of Naimisharanya, they gave a seat to Sri Suta Goswami. Suta Goswami, by birth considerations, he was not elderly to the audience. By birth considerations, he was lower. Shaunak Rishi was by birth higher to Suta Goswami, but they had that Shraddha, that faith in Suta Goswami, that if we have given you the garland and if we have given you a seat, then we genuinely believe that you will give us the right answers. So when we go to someone's katha, we should ensure that we are sitting in front of them. If we don't have faith in a particular speaker, we should not ask questions to them. Because we don't have faith in them. That's that honesty comes from the person who is asking the question. If we don't have faith in a particular speaker, we shouldn't ask questions. Sometimes what happens? People know the answer to a particular question, but they want to check if the speaker knows the same answer or not. This is one type of question. So they ask a question to test the speaker. And then when the speaker doesn't give the correct answer, then they decide, oh, I knew it, this person doesn't know what I know. So it's those sorts of questions I have encountered many times. And then there are also questions which are loaded questions. For example, you spoke something in the class, and after the class somebody comes and says, but my Guru Maharaj has said something opposite. What would you like to say? So it's like you're pitting the speaker against your Guru. So the speaker is in a difficult position, because if the speaker says your Guru Maharaj is correct, then the speaker is saying that he is incorrect, which means he spoke something incorrect in the lecture. And if the speaker says he is correct, So the speaker is indirectly indicating that your Guru Maharaj is incorrect. So those are loaded questions. So loaded questions should not be asked. One should ask questions only if one has faith in that particular speaker, or in general, otherwise one should not ask queries. And one should only ask them if they genuinely believe that they will receive an answer from the speaker which is a correct answer. And this is indicated in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the first canto. I'll try to. Yeah, this is what. Please repeat after me. Vethatvam somya tat sarvam.
Vethatvam somya tat sarvam.
Dadvatastat anugrahat.
Dadvatastat anugrahat.
Bruyuh snigdhasya shishyasya.
Bruyuh snigdhasya shishyasya.
Guravo guhyamapyuta.
Guravo guhyamapyuta.
Kindly read the translation.
And because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them.
So you can see the shraddha that they are investing in the speaker. It's very important to have that faith invested in the speaker before we, ask them a particular question. So mostly it is from the side of the person who's asking the question. They should have that requisite shraddha that this speaker will give a proper answer to my query. Otherwise, if they don't have the shraddha, then better just to hear the katha and then ask questions to one in whom one has that shraddha. So that is what can be recommended. In general, I try not to ask questions based on names of individuals or institutions, but this person says this, so what do you have to say? So those are loaded questions. But in this institution we do this, so what do you have to say? So those types of questions are not so much appreciated. I hope that answers your query. Thank you. Yeah, Manjari Mataji, and then we'll come to it.
You were speaking about vasana, or innate tendency to have a certain rasa, and I would like you to comment on the story of Shyamananda Prakash, Shyamananda Pandit and Hriday Chaitanya's relationship. I've been thinking of this for a while because the spiritual master usually helps the disciple to grow in their innate direction, but here we have another situation. Could you comment on that?
Yeah. When Sri Shyamananda Prabhu, previously named Dukhi Krishna Das, he had taken initiation from Sri Hriday Chaitanya Prabhu. At that particular point of time, he was. It is family initiation through family connections basically, and it was in his local village, where he got that initiation, and then. Once you accept a guru, you genuinely accept them and take their teachings as they are giving it, because that is what Bhagavan has decided for you. But his innate tendency, when he came in contact with Sri Jiva Goswami, one of the two things we do not know: either his vasana was in Madhurya Ras, or as Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, an expert cook can change your taste. So maybe that might have been the case, that Sri Jiva Goswami's association suddenly changed his inclination. But that is not indicated. But it is one thing is sure, he started performing bhajan in the mood that Sri Jiva Goswami had given him. And then he got a darshan of Sri Radha, and he got that tilak, and he got that ornament of Sri Radha. So what Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, it can be one of the two things. Either his previous inclinations are there, or maybe because of the association of Sri Jiva Goswami, which I can easily imagine would have been a very, very potent and powerful association, because you are staying with a person who is expert in all the 14 vidyas. So there is nothing as good as having that sort of association. And he is Ashu Kavi. On the spot, Sri Jiva Goswami can compose new verses. So that is one of those two reasons. But it was sanctioned by Sri Radha's arrangement, and there was no aparad in that. So all is well. But sometimes some relationships are tested, and some relationships become better only after being tested. So that is a case of such a relationship. Thank you. Yeah, we had Prabhu here. Prabhu, your good name? Sukumar Prabhu. So we'll give to Sukumar Prabhu, then we'll come back here. Sorry Prabhu, I'm making you walk.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dhanvat Prabhuji, when you do the chanting, then the heart is cleansed, yeah. And then I heard that this Vidyate Hrudayat Granthi, you know. I heard also that in the Chitta you have this Vasana stored. So and then these Vasanas come again and again, and that is the reason we are doing these material activities again and again. For example, eating any gulab jamun, something like that. So what actually is this heart cleansing and this Vidyate Hrudayat Granthi?
What is heart cleansing?
Yeah. So when we do this chanting, we say heart is cleansed. Yeah. So that is the reason we get more love for Krishna, like that. Yeah. So what actually happens? What is this heart cleansing means? Is it that this vasanas in the chitta are cleaned up? Or I have some confusion here, Prabhuji. Please clarify me. Thank you.
So what is the meaning of cleansing the heart? So it's important to understand how the heart is cleansed actually. What is the practical way of cleansing the heart? Because often it is said that you just keep repeating the Naam and heart is being cleansed. It's just an automatic assumption. You just keep chanting and the heart is being cleansed. Don't worry about how much it is being cleansed. You just keep repeating the Naam, heart is being cleansed. You might have heard that many number of times. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Bahu janma kare yadi Shravana kirtana Prabhutana paya Krishna Hare prema dhana. Prabhu, you have the mic, kindly read.
If one is infested with the 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many births, he will not get the love of Godhead. That is the ultimate goal of this chanting.
Yes, so many births will go and we will keep repeating, and then somebody may tell you, yeah, it is getting cleansed, it is getting cleansed. Actually, it is not getting cleansed. So cleansing means two things. First is somebody should tell us how to get rid of the anarthas and practical direct ways of getting rid of the anarthas. That is first. Second is somebody should also instruct in Krishna Sambandha Gyan. Who is Krishna? What is our relationship with Krishna? And that is what actual cleansing is. To have a specific understanding of Sri Krishna, Tattva Gyan of Sri Krishna. A mechanical repetition of certain syllables will not easily cleanse your heart. But proper understanding of Sri Krishna Tattva and proper removal of anarthas in the association of sadhus is what Vidyate Hridaya Granthis or cleansing of the heart is. That is what it is indicated by. So the greater amount of understanding that you have of Sri Krishna, the more the mirror is cleansed, the greater amount of anarthas that you can get rid of practically, the more your heart is cleansed, and most importantly, the more affection that you have for Sri Krishna, that also cleanses the heart like nothing else. So this is what it actually means to have attention, proper attention, and to also have proper affection for Harinam without having any of the aparads that are listed. So that is quality utterance of Harinam, And in a short time it can cleanse your heart and it can easily reveal the personality who is situated closest to the heart. Who is the personality? Sri Krishna. So that is the answer. In short, that is the answer, alright? So, yeah. Okay, there are a few queries. We'll go to Prabhu. Shortest distance. In computer engineering, I was taught a traveling salesman problem. There is a, those who studied computers. So, if there is a person who has to travel many cities, what is the shortest route that he can take in order to, so that he has the least amount of effort? So I'll try my best, Prabhu, to implement that solution. Yes, Prabhu.
In connection to this question, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Chaitanya Shikshamrita says listening about or hearing about naimitika lilas, like occasional pastimes, and eternal pastimes. Can you clarify that a little bit, and in connection to cleansing of the anartha?
Yeah. So naimittik and nitya, these are two terms. Naimittik means nimitta. Nimitta means occasion, and naimittika means occasional, related to an occasion. So yesterday we celebrated Holi. Do we celebrate Holi every day? So there was a nimitta, there was an occasion. So there was some speech about Holi pastime from Gopal Champu. So that was naimittik lila, once a year, maybe once a month, sometimes. And then Nitya Leela is what goes on 24 hours a day in Sri Vrindavan. It is described in the Smaran manuals of the previous Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas. So that is Nitya Leela, and Naimittika Leela is that which comes once a year, once in a while. That is Naimittika Leela. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Mahasaya specifies that one should understand both types of pastimes, and both types of pastimes will help one in their Smaran, because even in the spiritual world it's not just the same routine. Sometimes some nimitta happens. Nimitta means some event occurs and then the pastimes change for the entire day. That is what we say.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur specifically focuses on Krishna killing the demons as a cleansing process. So could you?
This is because Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur wants us to have an adhyatmic understanding. Adhyatmic understanding means some commentators on literatures give what is known as an adhyatmic understanding, that the text is indicating something in our personal life. That is what you call an adhyatmic understanding. For example, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is the pastime of Puranjan. Actually, there is no person like Puranjan. The whole pastime is an adhyatmic understanding of what is going on with the... Who is Puranjan? Does anybody know who is actually Puranjan? It's the living entity. Pura means the body, which has 9 gates, and Puram Jana means the person who stays within the body is the living entity. So Narad Muni clarifies. So these are underlying hidden meanings. And there are also those meanings in Krishna Leela, which Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur Mahasaya brought out in his Sri Krishna Samhita and Chaitanya Shikshamrita. So one should repeatedly meditate on those, so that one can get rid of those specific anarthas. Tomorrow morning talk, I'll try to speak about Vatsasur, which is one of the demons who killed by Bhagwan. So we will see what is indicated by the killing of Vatsasur, what Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he tells us by the killing of Vatsasur. They're very closely connected to hearing pastimes of Rasa and Leela, etc. So tomorrow you will get a small glimpse of that. Then when that day Jai Jagannath Prabhu was asking a question, then I told about Dhenukasur. You might be remembering the answer that I gave from Dhenukasur and what Dhenukasur represents. The more you hear and meditate about them, the more the anarthas in your heart get cleansed, and then you do not fall victim to those anarthas. That is what he was trying to say. Another thing indicated in the Dhenukasur pastime is when Bhagwan entered with his friend, the friends wanted to have the tal fruit. The tal fruit is very high up. So they all requested Sri Balram to bring down the tal fruits. So Sri Balram shook the tal tree and all the fruits fell down. So the hidden meaning, this adhyatmic meaning, these are hidden meanings behind. The hidden meaning is that in the Sanskrit language there are 2 syllables which are interchangeable. La and Ra. Which two syllables? La, Ra. So sometimes you will see in Srimad Bhagavatam the spelling Prahlad, sometimes you will see Prahrad. You will see both spellings in the Srimad Bhagavatam. For example, you can see here, you can see the spelling Prahrad instead of Prahlad. The original, the spelling that we know is Prahlad with the La, but here it is Prahrad with the Ra. La, Ralayo, Rabeda. There is non-difference between the syllables Ra and La. So the name of the fruit is Tala, but change the La to Ra. And what is the name of the fruit? Tara. And Tara basically means the Vedic syllable Om. That is the meaning of Tar. So the fruit, the ripened fruit of Vedic literature is love of Bhagavan. That is Tara Phala. So and that is very high up on Agam. Agam, one meaning of Agam is tree, another meaning of Agam is Vedic literature. So there are two meanings of Agam. And then it is very impossible for the Jiva to bring down Tara Phala, the ripened fruit of Vedic literature, that is Krishna Prem, from the Agama, from the tree or from Vedic literature. So they request the Adi Guru Balram, who is the Guru who shakes the tree and brings Tara Phala, which makes accessible to all the living entities. So this is an example of Adhyatmic. These are meanings. Srila Prabhupada also gives such a meaning in Bhagavad Gita in the first purport, where he says Krishna is the farmer, cultivator, and the Yudhishthira are like the rice plants, and Duryodhana etc. are like the weeds. And first Krishna has to root out the weeds, and then all of this Srila Prabhupada says in the first purport of the Bhagavad Gita. So he is indicating that there is a hidden meaning behind it. Right? There are many such pastimes in the Bhagavatam which have hidden meaning. I can give someday I can try to explain. There is a big hidden meaning behind the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. But you have to study with great detail. That's what Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur was asking. Can I quickly tell you about Dhruva Maharaj?
Yes.
So dear devotees, please hear very carefully this understanding about Dhruva Maharaj. The father of Dhruva Maharaj, all of us know, what is the name of the father of Dhruva Maharaj? Uttanpad. Right? So dear devotees, Uttanpad has two wives. What is the name of the two wives? Suniti, Suruchi. From Suniti and Suruchi he has one son. From Suruchi, what is the name of the son? Uttam. And from Suniti, what is the name of the son? Dhruva. So there is a big hidden meaning behind the entire pastime. The pastime has occurred historically, no doubt about it. But Bhagavan has arranged the names in such a way that there is also a hidden meaning behind it. What does Uttanpad, whom does Uttanpad represent? So dear devotees, what is the meaning of Uttan? Does anybody know what is the meaning of Uttan?
Having legs
Up. Having legs up. Legs up, head down. Dear devotees, can you think of someone whose feet are up and head is down? Yeah, in the womb, the living entity is Uttanpad, dear devotees. I hope you are able to understand. Because the living entity has his legs up and head down. As soon as the living entity comes out, then the living entity has two tendencies in life. To do what is very dear to him, Suruchi, and to do what is according to Shastra, Suniti. But please tell me, to whom the living entity is attached more, Suniti or Suruchi? Suruchi. When the living entity is attracted to Suruchi, the living entity begets Uttam, the highest material enjoyments in the world. But when the living entity is attracted to Suniti, what does it beget? Dhruva, fixed intelligence in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The misfortune of the living entity, Uttanpad, is that the living entity is never attached to Suniti. The living entity is always attached to Suruchi. So that is, So please note one thing, does not mean that the pastime did not occur historically. It occurred historically, but there are many layers of meaning running in the Bhagavatam. Many layers of meaning. And therefore we should try to preserve as many commentaries as possible, because this layer of meaning came from a different sampradaya. But I'd love to preserve such meaning because it adds a wonderful dimension to one's understanding of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I hope that answers your question. So alright. So then we should have to go here. Somebody was asking a question there. Yeah. Behind somebody has to go.
Hare Krishna. I'm quite new to the topic of rasas, so please forgive me if I'm not expressing this in a perfect way, but I've been curious, is the rasa we experience in our relationship with Krishna something that develops gradually, or through our spiritual practice, through sadhana, or is it something eternal which is already present and which is uncovered through Bhakti?
So this question is such that individuals love to take sides on this question. Some individuals say that our spiritual rasa with Bhagwan is eternally fixed, and some individuals say that our eternal relationship with Bhagwan develops as we practice a particular form of sadhana. If you look into what Sri Rupa Goswami says in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and I was showing Jai Jagannath Prabhu, so I will show what Sri Rupa Goswami said without trying to say that it contradicts any other acharyas. I will show what Sri Rupa Goswami says, and it should not be taken in the spirit of contradiction of any other acharya. So Sri Rupa Goswami says that I showed this verse, sadhana bhini veshena Krishna tad bhaktayos tatha prasadena ati dhanyanam bhavodvidha abhijayate. Bhavaha abhijayate. Abhijayate means it is manifested at a certain point of time within somebody's heart. So this is what Sri Rupa Goswami says in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Abhijayate. It becomes fully manifested at a certain point of time in somebody's heart, which means that the living entity had a container for experiencing bhava, and that container is filled at a certain point of time by the mercy of a certain devotee. This is what Sri Rupa Goswami is indicating here. So I am showing you this one because it comes from the original founder of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. And then other acharyas have also said that the relationship is eternally fixed. You can understand that it is potentially eternally fixed, but the exact flavor may be decided according to one's association. So I hope that made some sense, but I tried my best. All right? Okay. Yeah. All right. We have some queries here. Chirag Prabhu, right?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thanks a lot for your wisdom-packed presentations. Yes, my question is actually about what I have get to know, like this peace formula from Srila Prabhupada, Nasojati Nakanshati.
The peace formula is
yeah, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Goptaram yajya tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim rikshati. But anyways, yeah, peace formula. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like we know that the entity always hankering after something what he not have and lament about something which he may lost. And in this kind of mental stage, it's difficult to maintain peace in heart, and without this peace, it's maybe even difficult to practice Bhakti Yoga. And my question is actually, what can be the remedy, or how to balance this and come to some level where it's possible to find this inner peace.
Actually, Sri Rupa Goswami agrees with you when you say that a disturbed heart cannot perform bhakti. Sri Rupa Goswami says one of the 16th limb of bhakti in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is Shokadi Avashyavartita, not becoming overwhelmed by lamentation, anger, negative emotions. And he says, Shokam Arshadibhir Bhavair Akrantam Yasya Manasam Katham Tatra Mukundasya Spurti Sambhavana Bhavet. If somebody's heart is overcome by negative emotions, there is no possibility of them engaging in real Krishna Smaran. It is not possible. So it is always recommended to have a lifestyle in which the disturbances are the least. And how can you have a lifestyle in which you have least amount of disturbances? So another limb of bhakti that is given by Sri Rupa Goswami is Yavadarthanuvartita. So I will try to show it. Yeah. So this is Yavadarthanuvartita. It is one of the 64 limbs of Vyavahareshu Sarveshu Yavadarthanuvartita. In all dealings in life, take only as much as needed. Don't try to be greedy about anything more. So that is what creates the disturbance in your spiritual life. We think more means I'll be more happier, but more often and comes with its own set of challenges. Those who are intelligent, those who understand the value of their bhajan, and those who are willing to sacrifice material pleasures for the sake of bhajan, they can live a simple life. And once they know how to live a simple life, then you will have minimum disturbances. And once you have minimum disturbances, then it will become very easy to perform the process of Sri Krishna Bhakti. So Srila Prabhupada always encouraged to have a very simple life, and it is one of the 64 limbs of Bhakti. And I will quote that verse so devotees also understand what Sri Rupa Goswami says. Please repeat after me. Yavatasyat svanirvaha Srikuryat tavadarthavet Adikye nunatayam cha Shavate paramarthata. So yavata syat svanirvaha, as much as you need for your daily maintenance, plus little extra for emergencies, nothing else. Svikuryat, accept, tavad arthavet, that much one should learn to accept. Adhikye, if you do more. Nyunatayam, or if you do less. Shyavate, you will slip from the highest goal of life, paramarthata. So there is a risk of slipping from the highest goal of life if you make your life too complicated, or if you artificially try to renounce your genuine needs. So everybody has to find their specific balance, and Sri Rupa Goswami gives that freedom to everyone to find their specific balance. But keep your life very simple. That is the recommendation of Sri Rupa Goswami, so that there will be as less headaches as possible, and it will be easier to execute the path of Sri Krishna Bhajan. That is the recommendation in Bhakti Rasamrita. It's a very sweet recommendation. It's one of the 64 limbs of Bhakti. To keep a simple life is one of the 64 limbs of Bhakti. Right? Yeah. I think we'll take a. Yeah. I hope that answered your query to some degree.
Yes.
Thank you. We have a question here by an anonymous. From an anonymous source, we have a question. Yes.
The question is Manasi Seva also a type of Smaranam? And how can we move from Smaranam to Manasi Seva? Please be so kind and elaborate on this. Thank you.
In Manasi Seva?
Is Manasi Seva Smaran, and how do we move from Smaran to Manasi Seva, or how it's interrelated?
Smaran is mainly, it can be used to refer to passive remembrance without active participation in the pastimes. That is passive remembrance. You observe the pastimes in the mind as they are described by the previous acharyas. Passive remembrance. Seva is when you get actively involved in it. And that requires the guidance and the blessings of the Gurujanas. In general, it is recommended to do Smaran. Manasi Seva, the Guru will give specific guidelines as to when and how one should engage. The basic difference is passive and active participation. So passive participation you can call Smaran. Active participation you can call Manasi Seva. There is a very simple difference between both of them. But a general answer to this cannot be given through this stage, because it's a very person-specific answer should be given by the Guru. A tailor-made program of Smaran and Mansi Seva is required for every individual. But I can give the basic difference between the two. Yeah, we have some Vaishnavis will go behind.
Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for sharing your mind and heart with us. It's very refreshing. And I have a question about the pizza base, which is Daiva. Does that word also apply to Krishna? And if yes, what is his Daiva?
Does that word apply to Krishna? What is Krishna's Thai Bhav? That is a out of the box question.
I can swap Ashaya.
Yeah. So, actually speaking, Krishna is he is Akhila Rasamrita Murti. He is the fountainhead of all the rasas. He doesn't need to undergo a certain process to perfect the rasa. I hope you are able to understand. Because in him, even without the process of Vibhav, Anubhav, Satvik Bhav, Vyabhichari Bhav, rasas can easily flow within his heart. But it is mainly for the devotee that this whole framework of Vibhav, Anubhav, Satvik Bhav, Vyabhichari Bhav, Sthai Bhav. Although sometimes Krishna, because he is acting like a human, Naravat Leela, because he is acting like a human, sometimes you may see Krishna's hair stood on end, or Krishna was crying, etc. But in his position as Bhagavan, he does not need the framework. And in his position as an ordinary human being, which is taking the role of, you may see some emotions, and then same framework applies to him. I hope you are able to understand. So, in his original position as Swayam Bhagavan, this framework is not needed, because the rasas are self-perfected within him. All the rasas come from him. So why will the source of all rasas need a specific process to relish that particular rasa? So that is the answer to that question. I hope that satisfies it. Yeah, we come here. We can pass.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. I have something that connects to that verse you said that somebody with a disturbed heart can't perform properly. And in my experience, that most of the disturbances come from us having expectations that are disappointed. And if the level of disappointment goes higher and higher, that's where people become crazy. So if we can curb our expectations, and then we can be simple. So do you have any practical advice on how to get rid of our expectations? We should change our expectations, but in the process of changing them, this will happen. So how to make it easier?
So in the Gita, Bhagavan has spoken about curbing something. So there is a generic statement that Bhagavan has made in the Gita. Please, dear devotees, repeat. Nigraha kim karishyati.
Nigraha kim karishyati.
So the translation of that is, what can repression accomplish? This is a generic statement made by Bhagavan, that usually repression may achieve something for the time being, but ultimately it is not a permanent solution to any of our problems. It is only by association with a proper sadhu that we come to realize the futility of our expectations in the world. When we are associated with the proper set of people, our perspective of the world changes. And when our perspective of the world changes, it is then that we start having different sets of expectations from the world. So maturity is in transcending one's current set of expectations by good association, rather than trying to curb those. So curbing will not achieve anything. So that is what I would recommend, because when you curb something, you still not put it out of your heart. It's still there within your heart, waiting for the next chance to crop up. So it's very important that it should not be curbed. It's very important that through proper association, and someone can convince you why that expectation is not correct, and then you voluntarily say goodbye to that expectation. that is what will work. So, I hope that makes sense. And it is possible to get rid of every expectation like that. We need the correct association, and that will help us a lot in our life. And I hope that that answer gave some satisfaction to you. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, we have Purnamasi Mataji. Then she is waiting from long time. So Purnamasi Mataji will come to you next. Okay. So, I'm sorry.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for your talk. Very inspiring. My question is, you said in theory from the 5 rasas, Madhurya Ras is the highest. But as far as I understood, that it's mainly the gopis who experience this Madhurya Ras. But our tradition is rooted in manjaris. So could you maybe explain what is the ras of the manjaris? Because if I think of it, it's actually a mixture, or I don't know.
The first part of your query is that there is a gradation amongst rasas, and that is a fact because it is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Please sing after me. Kintu yara ye rasa, Kintu yara ye rasa, Sei sarvotama, Sei sarvotama, Tatastha haya vicharile, Tatastha haya vicharile, Achetaratama, Achetaratama. Kindly read the translation that is given on the screen. Please read.
I think I need glasses.
No,
is it true that whatever relationship a particular devotee has with the Lord is the best for him still? When we study all the different methods from a neutral position, we can understand that there are higher and lower degrees of love.
So, whatever a particular devotee's inclination, that is the best for that devotee. Right? So this is the confirmation of that. And I was showing the same thing in today. Sri Rupa Goswami was saying, a devotee, you can't force a devotee against their vasana, against their natural inclination. But if there is a very expert personality, and they may not force somebody, but they will speak katha in such a way that this devotee might become attracted to another ras. It is possible to have such a person. Believe it or not, it is possible that there may be such a person who may not force somebody, but who by their speaking will make someone attracted to another ras. About the manjaris, it is mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, because it's a very specific question. They have attachment to Sri Krishna, but they have higher attachment in servitude to Sri Radha. So that is given a specific name called as Bhavolas Rati, and that is mentioned in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Sri Jiva Goswami says it is only in the case with the manjaris that this specific exception is made, not with anybody else. So it has a specific term for itself, which is called Bhavolas, but it is only for that specific group which is known as manjaris. That's all. So that is the answer to your query. So they have attachment to Krishna, but they have greater attachment to Srimati Radharani. Their attachment to Sri Krishna is in Madhurya Ras. The attachment to Sri Radha is in Dasya Ras. Alright, so what is the rasa that they have with Sri Radha? That is Dasya. And what is the rasa that they have with Sri Krishna? Madhurya. Which means that they also have amorous attraction towards Sri Krishna. Because sometimes you say, no, they don't want to see Sri Krishna. So it's not like that. They also love to look at Sri Krishna. But the greater amount of attachment is towards servitude of Sri Radha. That is the specific answer for your query. Right? We'll come to Purnamasi Mataji, then we'll come to you.
Thank you. I have a question regarding the lecture you gave in Radhadesh. I have to admit, I didn't have the time to listen to the whole lecture, but the lecture was before the fall, and I have written down these 5 things which you explained. Maybe you answered in the lecture, maybe it's not relevant, but I found myself in all 5 of those symptoms
before the fall. Can you please give some encouragement, because it's,
All right.
yeah, thank you.
So some background is needed for the query. It is from Bhakti Sandarbha, and in Sri Bhakti Sandarbha, Sri Jiva Goswami mentioned something. There are 5 characteristics of individuals who are falling on the path of bhakti. What are the 5 characteristics? Please repeat, dear devotees. Kautilyam, Ashraddha, Bhagwan Nishtha, Chavakas, Tu Antara Abhinivesho, Bhakti Shaithilyam, Swabhakti, Adi, Kritamanitva. These are actually 5 symptoms, but I will tell you what are these 5 symptoms. First is Kautilyam. They develop crookedness in their mind, that just as I am not a simple person, the other person must also not be simple. Something must be wrong with this person. I can't accept that this person is so nice. I hope you are able to understand. So this is what you call Kautilyam. Yeah, my guru is okay, but he must be having some hidden motivations. This devotee is okay, but he must be having some hidden motivations behind him. Otherwise, why is he acting so simple? I hope you are able to understand. So this is what you call Kautilyam. Kautilyam is within oneself, so one sees as a reflection in others. So this person must be having some hidden agenda, and that is why they are here in the society of devotees. So this is what we call Kautilyam. One is oneself crooked, one sees other people also as having some crooked agenda. So this is Kautilyam, first symptom of a person who is falling down. Second is Ashraddha. Ashraddha means faithlessness in Shastra. Shastra was good for previous centuries, but nowadays we need something else. Alright, so this is what Ashraddha refers to. And then they try to find some solutions which are outside of Shastra, and then that may not work in their favor. And third is Bhagwan Nishtha Chavakas to Antarabhinivesho. To get absorbed in other sense objects. Material world is also good. What was wrong with the material world? Some things were good in the world. Alright? And then they get absorbed in the world again. And the fourth is Bhakti Shaithilyam. Their practice of bhakti gradually goes down, slackens. And fifth is Swabhakti Adi Krita Manitvam. And whatever little bhakti they are doing, they are very proud of that. So these are the 5 symptoms. So what about this you were saying?
Yeah. So because myself, I can recognize all 5 of them. So please.
I am well practiced in all of them. No problem.
So
you are speaking to an experienced person. Please tell me.
Yeah, to give us some encouragement.
To get into this or to
No.
come out?
How to go further, although they are there.
You see, at the root of all of it is some ashraddha, that the process will not work for me. It doesn't work for others. That is the ashraddha that a person has. The process doesn't work. That is what a particular individual has in their heart. We have to see one person at least for whom the process has worked. That comes as a straight challenge to the Kautilyam in the heart, the ashraddha within the heart. It worked for this person, so it must also work for me, isn't it? So unless we are convinced about that, unless we have seen a living example that whatever is written in the books came true for a particular person, till that time our mind will not be convinced. It may have ashraddha. So it is best to have one live example of a person for whom the process worked. And then gradually by emulating them, we come out of these negative qualities. Sri Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Yasya yat sangatihi pumso Manivatsyat satadguna Swakulardhyaitato dhiman Swayuthaneva samshraye Yasya yat sangatihi pumso. According to the association you have, Manivat, your heart is like a transparent crystal. So if you put a transparent crystal on a brown colored object, the crystal becomes brown. If you put it on a red colored object, it becomes red. So according to the association, one's heart is like a crystal, it takes on those qualities. So Swakulardhe, for increasing your good qualities, an intelligent person should associate only with like-minded individuals who convince oneself that the process works. So once you find an individual like that, who is living proof that the process works, then it will become very easy. Because many times I have met individuals like who are teaching in the university in India, they're teaching, then they're saying, Mahaprabhu's movement is nice, 500 years ago there was this emotional outburst of Bhakti and people got together and collected as a group and they made a movement around Bhakti and that movement ended at a particular point of time. That is how they will put ashraddha within your heart. So how do you remove that ashraddha? You see the example of a person for whom the process works even today. And that one person is sufficient enough to convince you that it works. And you can walk that particular path again. So ashraddha is very important here. In the Gita, Krishna says 3 types of people fall down. Agyo cha ashraddha dhanascha samshayatma vinashyati. 4.40. Ashraddha is the root of all of that. To not have faith in Shastra. Shraddha means faith, but faith in whom? Dear devotees? Shastra. Faith in devotional Shastra is what Shraddha is all about. So, Ashraddha is at the root of all of that. Once Ashraddha is removed, you have faith in Shastra, you know this is the example of a person for whom the process has worked, and you just have to follow that same path. And follow the example, emulate the example of that person. Then it becomes easier. My grandfather used to tell me, if you stay in the city, you become very, shrewd and sharp in your mind. Come stay with us villagers, you will become a simple man. Come stay with us for a week, you will become a simple man. So I used to think staying with the villagers means I will become a dumb person or something. That is what I used to think. But my grandfather used to tell me, come stay with us for a week. You become a simple person. And then I actually stayed with him and I could understand. I couldn't believe how can they think like this. How can they think like this? For a few things I used to wonder. And later I understood. It's simplicity. Simplicity is a very essential quality of a devotee. Alright. Yeah. So there are a few hands. Yeah. Gaurari Prabhu, one anonymous question. Yes. Then we will go to Prabhu and then we'll go to Manjari Mataji. Yeah. What time we have when you tell me?
Yeah, maybe we go 10 more minutes.
Sure.
The 7 secondary rasas are usually relatable because of material experiences we have due to being conditioned souls. How can one dovetail those experiences to spirituality and relate them to Radha and Krishna?
You don't dovetail material rasas in spirituality or something like that. Sri Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, at the end of 4.7, let me find out, this is 4.8.1, so 4.7 is just above this. Yeah. Ami panchaiva shantadya harer bhakti rasamata eshu hasyadaya prayo bibrati vyavicaritam. So once you are experiencing the main bhakti rasas, the main 5, which are the main 5 dear devotees, Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, these 7 become Vyavichari. Vyavichari means they become transitory emotions. Once you have one of the primary 5s, then these become secondary in relation to Krishna. Rupa Goswami never says that you have to take material emotions from the material world and then somehow try to dovetail them towards Krishna. You have your direct bhakti rasas with Krishna, and you, in those direct bhakti rasas with Krishna, these secondary rasas become vyabhichari bhavs. Vyabhichari means they become transitory emotions. So that is what Sri Rupa Goswami has said. When we go and let's say for some social occasion, somebody invites us for watching a drama, we go watch a drama and then there are some emotions in that drama, positive, negative, whatever. We may be obliged to go for some reason. and we go and we watch a drama, we feel some feelings in our heart, then you can do Arop Siddha Bhakti. What is Arop Siddha Bhakti? Bhagwan, whatever I did through my mind, body, I offer to you. So that is, put an Arop. Arop means put an allegation of Bhakti upon it. So there is a type of Bhakti in the Bhakti Sandarbha which is called Arop Siddha Bhakti. Arop Siddha Bhakti means Yad karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhosi dadasi yad tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, do it as an offering unto me. So you can offer those temporary feelings to Sri Krishna. That you can do. But you cannot directly transfer those feelings to Sri Krishna. Because that is from the material realm and that stays there. And these are belonging to a different category altogether. So these are completely different. These are experienced in relation to Krishna. Hasya, Bhakti Ras is experienced in relation to Krishna. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada always used to say, don't mix the divine and the profane. Don't mix these two things together. And therefore he made one book, Prakrita Ras Shatadushani. That so sometimes people have these ideas that I can take material ras and then offer to Krishna. Or I listen to a movie song. Oh wow, how nice it was, and then Krishna, this is you, So it doesn't work like that. You have to have Sri Krishna as the primary center of your affection. You can't just put another person as the center of your affection and then say, whatever I have for this, let me have. You can, that is also Arop Siddha Bhakti, but you can't call that rasa. We should not call that rasa. So that is what I would like to say. Right? So we'll go to Prabhu and we'll go to Manjari Mataji. Behind.
So Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you. It has been like great series of lectures. My questions are quite simple because you give us in one of the lectures a practical tip as to how to introduce Smaranam starting at the start of your day, right? Any other practical tips? Because yes, you start the day, you do your chanting, but throughout the day, then you are associating with different-minded people who come from different backgrounds. So how to keep a check on your Smaranam? Are there any other practical tips for that? And the second one question I had is that many a times when we are in a situation, there is an intuition that comes, right? But how is there a guidance in the scriptures to align ourselves that intuition is the correct decision, or it's something coming from a materialistic desire point of view?
All right. So often I am asked about a few helpful tips. So this is one of those types of questions. See, Prabhu, one has to understand ultimately why one has come on this path, and the reason we have. Please tell me what is the ultimate reason for coming to this path. So we'll evaluate your original motivations. Please tell me.
Well, ultimately, to do seva towards Krishna. That pleases my heart actually. That's the.
So ultimately, it's about your pleasure.
Yeah.
It's good. You're honest. I appreciate that. But here is some time for self-introspection. Is the highest truth about self-pleasure, or is it about something else? So we have to evaluate that. The process is summarized in a verse. Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesh Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumartho Mahan. The final goal of life is Sri Krishna Prema, to love Sri Krishna. So let's first align ourselves with that particular goal of life. So please tell me again, Prabhu, what is the final goal of life according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
To love Sri Krishna.
Wonderful. Now we are aligned with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now that the alignment with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there, because different devotees come with different goals. I have come so that I can get liberated and not have to suffer again. Somebody may come with that goal. I have come because I feel good about it. So those are not. I have come because I wish to love Sri Krishna. If that aim is there, then we are aligned with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, a person who wants to fall in love, do they ask for tips or what do they do? Like, it's,
there is a manual.
So, a person who has not yet fallen in love, they are asking, what are 5 tips for falling in love? And somebody may genuinely write a book like that, 5 effective tips for falling in love. But that's not how it works in real life. If you wish to fall in love with a certain personality, then you will do whatever is required to know about that personality. Because unless we know a particular person, we cannot fall in love with them. So how do we know about Sri Krishna? We come to know through Sri Guru. And how do we approach Sri Guru? And how, then we have to find such a Guru who already knows about Sri Krishna, who is connected to Sri Krishna, who will tell us about Sri Krishna and who will help us fall in love with Sri Krishna. So that is how it will work. So there is one tip that I can give, that is to align one's aim with the aim of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, that we have come here for loving Sri Krishna, and the best way to go about it is sadhu sangha. Alright? So sadhu sangha, proper association of sadhus, and proper association means very powerful association in which you feel that direct connection with Sri Krishna. So not just that somebody said he is a good sadhu, so I will go and check him out. You should feel within your heart, pratyakshavagavam dharmyam. It is, you should feel personally in your heart that Sri Krishna's remembrance was awakened within your heart. And this is specified in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Please repeat. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula.
Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula.
Aya Sadhu Sangha.
Aya Sadhu Sangha.
Krishna Prema Janmete Ho.
Krishna Prema Janmete Ho.
Punah Mukhya Anga.
Punah Mukhya Anga.
Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22.83. Please read the translation, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada's translation.
The root cause of devotional service to Lord Krishna is association with advanced devotees.
Alright, it's very, the root cause, even half a syllable is not meaningless, alright? The root cause of genuine devotional service to Sri Krishna is association with which devotees? And advanced or non-advanced, you cannot rubber stamp somebody. Advanced or not advanced, it comes when you are in contact with them and you genuinely feel that connection or that remembrance of Sri Krishna. That is whom advanced, that is the meaning of advanced here. Please read ahead.
Even when one's dormant love for Krishna awakens, association with devotees is still most essential.
Yeah, so you need to have that quality association. Only in quality association will it be possible to have that sort of a connection with Bhagavan. So I think that answers your query to something. We'll go to Manjari Mataji. Chirag Prabhu. Chirag Prabhu.
I think maybe, I'm sorry, there is the lamp, the Maha Prasadam of the deities that have arrived, and maybe to not disturb.
Yeah, you can take it from a distance. Yeah,
like in India, we can all do like this from distance.
Haribol.
I hope all of you felt the warmth. There's a story about Birbal and the fire cooking in the distance.
We have heard some very beautiful verses for Smaranam, meditation on Krishna and Srimati Radharani and their pastimes. And my question is, where is the Rupa Goswami says that the essence of all teachings is residing in Vraja and meditating on the Vrajavasis. But where is the room for the smaran of Gora, Rupa, Nama, Lila in our daily practice? What would be your recommendation for meditating on Lord Chaitanya's?
Okay, so where is the recommendation for meditating on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila?
I mean, not in Shastra, but in our everyday life.
Yeah, in our everyday life, because Acharyas sometimes not only teach by giving specific instructions, but acharyas also teach by indication. But there is a very nice example of this in the Mahabhashya of Panini. So I will try to specify if I can find it here. Yeah. So here is what it says in the Mahabhashya of Patanjali Muni. Ingitena cheshtitena nimishitena mahata va sutra prabandena acharyanam abhiprayo gamyate. The intentions of all previous acharyas are understood either by their actions or by their direct writing. So sometimes an acharya indirectly indicates ingitena. So not everything is put into writing. Sometimes ingitena. Sometimes they indicate something by their actions. And then by their actions you find out that what the acharya wants. So in the writings of Sri Rupa Goswami you can find ingitam, indication. So in the very beginning he will have a few verses for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the rest of the book will be dedicated to Sri Krishna. If you have seen, this is the pattern that Sri Rupa Goswami follows. He may not give an instruction, but it is ingitam. Ingitam means it's how he indirectly indicates how our practice should be. So like Srila Prabhupada said, Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda once before kirtan, and then the main kirtan should be what, dear devotees? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So ingitena, acharyas teach something by their indications, and not always everything is written down specifically. In such conditions, this quote from Mahabhashya of Patanjali on Panini's sutras is very important. Ingitena, by their indications, cheshtitena, by their actions, nimishitena, sometimes simply by their blinking of eyes, nimishitena, mahatava sutra, or sometimes by writing a direct shastra, and acharya's intentions are to be understood. So this is what Patanjali Muni says in Mahabhashya. The Shastras explain so many things, how to understand an acharya. So you understand Sri Rupa Goswami in this way. He has given ingita, he has given indication by his own writings that in the beginning there should be some remembrance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and most of the remembrance should be Krishna centric. Because it comes back to the point where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying, if you have love for me, don't think of anything else besides Sri Krishna. Because things can easily go wrong, and then I can say, why Krishna? I'll just remember Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 24 hours a day. Then I can form a new cult only around Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then I can give an excuse that if I utter Mahaprabhu's name, Krishna will always come. Isn't it? So I remove Krishna's name. So that is where things go wrong, because we could not understand the indications of the previous acharyas. So some expertise is required in that. So I hope that answers your query. The answer is given in Mahabhashya of Patanjali. Yeah.
So there are some beautiful literatures. The followers of Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have written, I think his name is Krishna Das, a beautiful description of Mahaprabhu's daily pastimes. There we find that Mahaprabhu is always thinking about Radha and Krishna. So if we really think about Mahaprabhu, we must arrive right there.
Yeah, we must arrive at Radha Krishna. At the same time, there is also in Navadvip, there are some branches of the Sampradaya who are like specialized in Gaur Leela. And we respect everybody, and we like to be as democratic as possible. We respect everybody. That there are branches who have dedicated themselves to Ashtakaliya Leela Smarana of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there are branches. We can't deny that they exist. But those branches are not following the ingitena, the indication of Sri Rupa Goswami. That objectively we can say without making an aparadh, that they are not following the indications given by Sri Rupa Goswami. So in this way, yes, if somebody loves Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they will want to love Radha Krishna all the more. That is a fact.
Actually, the fact that Rupa Goswami is present within the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, as well as in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, indicates that we should never separate it.
We should. Those pastimes are mutually connected to each other. Gaur Leela is a gateway into Krishna Leela, and Krishna Leela brings us back to Gaur Leela. But I think the question was more about the quantity. How much. So some customary remembrance of Gaur Leela is there by the previous acharyas, and then remaining time Krishna Leela. So I think that's a very good framework to follow, because it keeps us safe because we are following the previous acharyas. So I think that answers a very good degree of satisfaction. One more? Two more?
You decide.
I'm alright. I can be here till midnight, no problem. You decide. There are some queries behind there. I'm sorry I couldn't see the background in the dark. I'm a little dark for me. So the light is flashing in my eyes. I couldn't see.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your eye-opening lectures and.
It opens the eyes of people who are sleeping.
Yeah, Prabhu. I am also sleeping, so it's needed to be.
I always tell people, if you ever have insomnia, just come and sit in my lecture. I guaranteed cure or your money back. Alright?
So basically, my question is, Prabhu, that we get instructions from our superiors and like our spiritual master, but although we follow it, but the level of surrender is not increasing.
You are following, which means you are surrendered, right?
But we feel that we are not surrendered that much that needed to be there. So how we can increase that surrender level?
Surrender is objectively defined by Sri Rupa Goswami. That what is the technical term for surrender? What is surrender in Sanskrit? Please tell me.
Sharanagati.
Ah, wonderful. So now you have the technical term. Now once you have the technical term, you can look up the definition of Sharanagati in the Shastra. Please repeat after me. Anukulyasya sankalpa Pratikulyasya varjanam Rakshishyati iti vishwaso Goptritve varanam tatha Atmanikshepa garpanye Shadvidha sharanagati Sharanagati has 6 forms. It has 6 limbs. First is Anukulyasya Sankalpa. If we are doing what is favorable for our bhajan, first limb. Second, Pratikulyasya Varjanam. If we are avoiding what is unfavorable. Third, Rakshishyati iti Vishwasa. Bhagwan will always protect us. This Vishwas, this faith one should have. Goptritve Varanam Tatha, and Bhagwan is our highest maintainer. Fifth is Atma Nikshepa, having a feeling of surrendering everything to Bhagwan, and Karpanya, a feeling of humility. These 6 are defined as limbs of Sharanagati. The more you have these, the more Sharanagat you are. If you feel lacking in some way, come in direct contact with a devotee who is already attained these 6 limbs, and emulate their behavior as much as possible, and understand their concept of Sharanagati so that your doubts are driven away. There are 6 limbs of Sharanagati, and one who has that, they are called Sharanagat, they are called surrendered. So often a question, I don't feel surrendered enough. So there is no yardstick to measuring such questions. The yardstick is given by the previous acharyas. There are 6 limbs to Sharanagati. You don't have to develop all 6 separately. It's not that you develop one limb separate. This year I'll develop one limb, next year I'll develop the second limb. It doesn't work that way. In contact with a good devotee who has all the limbs, you will also develop all the limbs. So Sadhu Sangha, as I was saying, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula. The root of Krishna Bhakti is proper Sadhu Sangha. That will definitely help. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Prabhu, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
We were discussing that. Well, first of all, thank you, Prabhu, for just life-saving instructions, and also so completely like exposing the treasure house of Srila Rupa Goswami, accessible to all of us.
I am trying to save my own life, but
yeah. Prabhu, we were discussing the other day about the Ashtakaliya pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. And
Kaliya is a demon. Kaliya with the short means timed. There's a very, very subtle difference. So Kaliya is the Nag. So Ashtakaliya with the short yes, Ashtakali. Yes, please.
Yeah. And at the same time, you also, I heard somewhere that there is no concept of time in the spiritual world. So how can we like correlate both of these?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. There is no concept of time in the spiritual world. Of course, there is a concept of time in the spiritual world. There is day and night, there is sun and moon, there are 6 seasons in the spiritual world. Would you like to know the names of the 6 seasons in the spiritual world? I'll show you the names of the 6 seasons, which will automatically clarify that obviously there are going to be seasons and times, etc. This is in Anand Vrindavan Champu of Sri Kavi Karnapur, where Sri Kavi Karnapur gives the names of the 6 seasons of the spiritual world. Alright. He says, Yasyatra Kalatita Syapi. Sri Kavi Karnapur says, it is Kalatit, it is beyond material time. Alright? It is beyond material time. Shadbhireva Ritubhir Bhagavalli Laupaika Taya Prakritairapi Aprakritairapi Prakritairiva Bhasamanai. So for the facilitation of Bhagavan's Leela, although these 6 seasons are non-material, they appear as if they are material, but they are non-material. I hope you are able to understand. This is what Sri Kavi Karnapur says. Krita Vibhaga. These are the 6 divisions. Shad Vibhaga. What are the 6 divisions? Please repeat after me the names of the first season. Varsha Harsha. Varsha Harsha. Rainy season that gives a lot of joy. Alright? Unlike the rainy season in this part of the world, which doesn't give a lot of joy. Sharat Amodaha. Fall season, which gives another great amount of delight to the heart. The devotees. Third. Hemanta Santosha. Pre-winters, which gives you satisfaction instead of chilling your bones. The devotees. Next. Shishira Sukhakaraha. Actual winters, which is very cooling to the body, pleasing to the body, not like the winters that we have in this world. Vasanta Kantaha. Beautiful spring. And Nidagha Subhaga. Auspicious summer. These are the 6 names given by Sri Kavi Karnapur in Anand Vrindavan Champu. So there are 6 seasons, and these 6 seasons come in time. Ahead, Sri Kavi Karnapur says that 6 seasons come in their respective time during the year, but there is also a special section in Vrindavan where all 6 are manifested in the same place. So he draws a map of Sri Vrindavan in which those 6 seasons are there. So you can also have, as they say in Hindi, Sardi mein garmi ka ehsas. Alright, huh? You don't know what it means, that you can have winters in summers, dear devotees. So there is a section in Sri Vrindavan where you can have all the 6 seasons together. So this is by Sri Kavi Karnapur in Anand Vrindavan Champu. Definitely there is time factor, the clock moves. But when it says there is no time, it means that the 6 effects of time are not present in the spiritual world. What are the 6 effects of time that are not present in the spiritual world? Birth, existence, growth, transformation, diminution, death. These 6 are not present in the spiritual world. That is what is meant by it. Alright? Doesn't mean that everyone is frozen forever in the spiritual world and time doesn't move. Right? So that is not the meaning of it. Okay. Chalo. I hope that answered your query. Okay. Who's Mataji, yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I have a question related to surrender only. I'm a beginner in Bhakti, so please bear with me if this is a silly question. One is, I would like to know, I know we have to depend on Krishna for the results of our actions, but how do we know where we leave it to Krishna and where we have to stop trying, for something to happen? Or like over-enduring on something, and how do we know what is Krishna's plan and where is the borderline for us to stop trying?
Krishna usually doesn't interfere with our material life. So mostly whatever is going on in our material life is part of plan of Mahamaya, and that is what she has mandated for us. Only when we take to the path of Bhakti does Sri Krishna start getting directly involved in our day-to-day life. Often people say, I will surrender to Sri Krishna, but surrender to Sri Krishna is a process of Bhakti. And in Bhakti, when one is situated on the path of Bhakti, that is when Sri Krishna's presence is felt in day-to-day life. In day-to-day worldly activities, we have to do whatever is according to Dharma. And Dharma we can decide according to what is given in the Shastra. and Shastra is the indication given by Sri Krishna. So you know what Sri Krishna wants from you by following the regulations given in Shastra for your daily worldly activities. And this complete surrender, full surrender is only after one dedicatedly takes to the path of bhakti. Otherwise, for day-to-day life, Sri Krishna has given a very general rule in the Bhagavad Gita. Tasmat shastram pramanam te karya karya vyavasthitau yatva shastra vidhanoktam karma kartumiharhasi. Krishna says to Arjuna 16.24, one should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by regulations of Shastra. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. So how do we know what Krishna wants? We should see what is given in the Shastra, and what is given in the Shastra is the indication that Krishna wants in material life. After taking to the path of bhakti, Sharanagati is a very personal thing on the path of bhakti. But for material life, you have to follow what is given in the Shastra. That is the answer to the query.
But the thing is, when we follow a dharmic way of life, there is so much injustice, so many wrong things happening around us. So we will get impacted by it. So how do we handle this situation? So we do our best and leave the result of Krishna.
This is an assumption that we do dharma and then negative things will come to us. Even if negative things come to us, Shastra tells us how to deal with negativities. So why do we leave out Shastra when negative things come to us? Shastra will help you in all aspects of life, including when negativities come to you. First and foremost, it is incorrect to have an assumption that just because we are following dharma, negative things will come to us. It is that assumption itself is incorrect. Negative things come to us because of something negative we have done in the past. That is what Shastra tells us. It doesn't come to us because we are following dharma. Dharma has nothing to do with it. Negative things come to us because of some negative seed in the past. And if some negative reactions come to us, then Shastra tells how to deal with it. The Shastra is a solution for all those situations of life, even when some negativities arise in one's life. But one has to follow the guidelines of Shastra under the guidance of devotees or under the guidance of Guru. So it's very important to find good guidance by associating with devotees and coming to know what Shastra actually says. That is the answer to the query. Right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. Anyone else here, Prabhu? We'll give here it, Prabhu, here.
Hare Krishna. In your answers many times you mentioned the importance of good association.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask if you can elaborate how good association is important in this process of anartha nivritti, because many times it is said that it's anartha nivritti is a slow process and it takes a long time and so on. And you, if I remember correctly, you said that it's better than to struggle alone practicing, than to take good association, as you said right now, good mentorship. So what would mean this good mentorship and how to associate with advanced devotees so that we can advance in bhakti?
In general, in any field of life, the initial association that one takes is very important. Let's say somebody wants to prepare to be an Olympics medal winner, and they say, I'll practice alone without any guidance. Will it be easy for them to rise up to that level where they can be a gold medalist in an Olympics tournament? No, because they don't know the subtleties of mistakes that are made in those tournaments, and they need someone to tell them where the mistakes are made and to correct them from time to time. So therefore, an expert who has seen the field from all directions is needed in the very beginning, so that the expert will tell them that you should do this, you should not do this, avoid this, follow this. Under the guidance of that expert, it becomes very easy. I'll tell you another field. In childhood, students in the Gurukul are taught Sanskrit grammar. You cannot learn Sanskrit grammar without having a guru, because it is such a difficult subject that without a proper guru, by your own effort, it will be almost impossible to learn it properly. So just as a proper guru is needed in these fields of life, similarly, a proper guru is also needed in the field of bhakti. A proper guidance is needed. Otherwise, they will not be able to detect the mistakes that we are making. And unless somebody is able to detect those mistakes and help us, it becomes very difficult. Sometimes we start considering the mistakes as the genuine path. This is correct. Whatever I am doing is correct. But sometimes that may not be the case. So, and what is the yardstick for deciding, who is expert and who is not expert? The yardstick is Shastra. If they are able to point out from Shastra what you are doing is bona fide, then what you are doing is bona fide. If they are not able to point out from Shastra, that means something is wrong. There should be there should be a source in Shastra for whatever activities we are doing in the sphere of bhakti. So that expert guidance is needed always. And once you have that, then nothing as anartha nivritti becomes very quick. Let's say you come in contact with devotees and somebody tells you, keep chanting Hare Krishna, just without, you should not sleep at any point of time, keep chanting and hear the words properly and chant loudly. Alright, and you do that for 20 years. After 20 years, you discover this verse, Bahu Janma Kare Yadi Shravana Kirtan. Tabu Tana Paye Krishna Pade Premadhan. Yeah, if one is infested with 10 offenses, you cannot achieve love of God. But you spent 20 years already. Now please tell me what to do. So, it's very important to have that person who knows the subtleties of the process, the nuances of the process, so that they can tell you exactly what needs to be done. Otherwise, they will give you one-sided opinion. You will follow that opinion, and it will not work for you. You don't get the result, even after decades of practice. And then what is the use? You made progress, but very little progress. You spent a lot of time for that little progress. Better would have been to have some expert guidance and to have made rapid progress in that time. Your time is very valuable, so might as well give it to somebody who's an expert. Yeah, right? Last or finish?
No.
Finish. Okay.
But maybe I can just have quick the microphone. I'm sorry, Hari Parshad Prabhu, but we need to leave a little break so that the devotees will be fresh for Bharaj Katha. Just before, because you were so kindly glorifying devotees, there's one devotee I would like to glorify today. I think we all had a lot of pleasure with the lunch that were cooked all those days, and this was by the grace of Shyamananda's wife, Manjari. And thank you so much for this wonderful seva.
Thank you.
Sacinandana Swami will give the final evening katha, so it's good that we have a little time to refresh ourselves. Still, in the between, we will have some bhajan. We will not have the Vrindavan bhajan like planned on the schedule, but Shyamananda will lead us in some mantra singing for half an hour. And I think also I think it was Sanatana Goswami when he was instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the end, he said, yeah, you told me so many things, but now I need blessings so that this will become revealed. So please don't forget also to pray to the deities so that some of the nectar drops that have fell on us during this weekend will be revealed into our hearts. So it's also very important because now we will have a little bhajan in the temple room. If everyone starts to speak loudly, it will be really difficult for Shyamananda to lead a kirtan. So if you can try just for this half an hour maybe to discuss outside and to be a little bit mellow in the temple room so that it can go smoothly for the pleasure of Hanuman. Thank you.
Hari Parsha Prabhu ki
Jai! Srila Prabhupada ki Jai! Yeah. This advanced devotee is Uttam Adhikari. Uttam Adhikari has two characteristics. Shastra Yuktis Nipuna. He is very expert in Shastra and in Shastric logic. And Dhrida Shraddha is very firm faith. There might be multiple people who fit the criteria. So your particular heart will be attracted to one Uttam Adhikari. Yeah, so Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, when he was asked that can a Kanishta Adhikari become a guru? So Bhakti Saraswati Thakur said Kanishta Adhikari can never become a guru because he can only perform the initial, so the Madhyam Adhikari can only perform the initial functions of guru, but they can never actually become a guru. Many times Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, yes, here it is. Prabhupada says disciples should be careful to accept an Uttam Adhikari as a spiritual master. And Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, question was asked, can't a Kanishta Vaishnava become a guru? So Kanishta Madhyam and Vaishnava are gradations in Vaishnavism. In Kanishta stage, only non-Vaishnavism is absent. Knowledge of the subject can only be obtained from one who has experience in the subject. If someone were given the position of a judge, how would he judge if he has not even elementary knowledge of physics? One who has no knowledge of mathematics cannot teach that subject. If one wants to know how to swim, one must go to a swimmer. If one wishes to learn how to be a smith, one must go to a smith. You know, gives a big answer. The second question is, isn't it possible for a person with meager knowledge to become guru? Answer is no. Isn't the Kanishta Adhikari qualified to give Diksha? Where is the Kanishta Adhikari coming from? Who gave him the Adhikar? A Kanishta Adhikari can never become guru. Can a Madhyam Adhikari give Diksha? He can only perform the initial duties of Diksha. It is the Uttam Adhikari, Mahabhagavad, Vaishnava who gives the Diksha.
Because yesterday you told why don't you accept Guru as sent by Krishna? But when someone is knowledgeable and someone is sent to her and she's saying, okay, I think you're off my remove a man.
Remove or
okay, I think I needed to be
before
sure.
one gets initiation, the checking is there whether they are Uttam, Madhyam or Kanishta.
No, I was thinking this stuff.
But that preliminary check should be done, but after that one should also check that whether it is Bhagwan's arrangement. Sometimes the Guru may be Uttam, the disciple may be very qualified. Both of them may not gel. Like husband is very good, wife is very good. Individually they are very good. Together they don't